This is the Beige and the Bold, and today we are watching Violations. I am Van Velding, and I watched this episode on DVD for the first time like 15 years ago, and never since.
And I'm Derek. It's my first time watching this episode.
You ready?
Yep.
And 3, 2, 1, engage. Because it's bad, Derek. It's not a good episode. It's a bad episode.
You are not wrong. This is not a pleasant episode to watch.
I saw it and I'm like, maybe just a hard pass on ever coming back to it again.
Right. And I was a little confused about what this was here. And then, we slowly kind of get introduced to what seems to be a useful skill, where we're retrieving memories that we couldn't retrieve on our own.
Yeah, and, these guys go around to different planets and they chronicle lost memories from random, ordinary people, and they add it to an archive.
Right, so there is a memory archive, or at least that's where they're going to establish, and it will be some sort of crafting like what's happening here. I guess she's able to see more nuanced aspects of the memory while she's also conscious. Like, this isn't like a hypnosis thing. She's kind of... I guess he's constructing the memory for her. Yeah,
he's doing some patchwork, I guess, ironically.
Right.
Maybe the chipped cup is some sort of deeper symbolism for that. And this whole memory of a paintbrush...
Drinking paint water?
Yeah, drinking paint water is going to go into the archive so that other races can see it and better understand the human race and our paintbrushes.
Yeah, and this could be useful for other things as well. Having having sort of investigation, helping people, helping trauma victims remember, the things that they need to put the people that victimized them in jail.
Categorizing arts and crafts of all kinds from people's grandparents. That's great.
Yeah, for sure. And then...
it's the little things, It's the little things about cultures that don't generally get recorded.
So you'll have a more nuanced history instead of just George Washington cutting down the cherry tree. You know how he felt about it.
Yeah, how, he also remembered cutting the grass for his parents that one time when he was 12. It's the little things that create a culture.
Like where your keys are.
And oh my god, it's so fucking stupid. This idea is so
I don't
fucking
really know
stupid.
Why. I don't really know
who
why
cares? At all. Like, oh gosh, we have an archive.
Have we established that they have logs?
I mean, they're apparently making an archive. That's their mission. They're going to fill an entire archive with stuff that wasn't important enough to remember in the first place. Freaking moth-eaten Jedi robe cosplayers.
It'll be right next to the archive that Starfleet has of every log ever for the past 150 years.
And somehow less useful. It's insane.
Right.
Who gives a crap?
Yeah, and so this old dude's foreshadowing kind of the problems that we have. Like, oh no, you're just so beautiful. So it's okay if I can just taste your memories, right? Let's go find a private place to talk.
Foreshadowing competing clues in a mystery plot that goes nowhere. And Riker's like, I don't know, my memories are so intimate. It's sex. It's like, come on, Riker. Don't be so coquettish. You know that your freaking wing dangle has graced a lot of back seats on this ship. Just like everyone's seen it. Like, what do you care?
Right.
Like, we know he's banging his way around the ship, like, on a schedule.
Right. It's like, with the coming season, the Virile XO turns his focus towards senior officers in the astrophysics department.
Yeah. Like, it's nothing that anyone in this room hasn't seen before.
Yeah, right. And, it's either that or Daddy beat him a lot. And he doesn't want to remember that. He doesn't want other people to remember it. So, A or B. It's
just like all of our characters are really closed off, and it's like on the one hand you want to pair with the Ullians and go, yeah, let's learn things about yourself and be open to new experiences. That's what Star Trek should be about. But on the other hand, their new experience is really stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it is kind of funny, too. We don't kind of really get too much characterization of that ability, which, I mean, is pretty common for like these mental, less physic abilities that are around Starfleet. Because it would be funny them trying to retrieve some memory for Worf, and he's just a vicious murder machine, and all of his memories are just violent calisthenics in the morning.
Yeah, I just feel like these guys are a step above a Facebook "which minion are you" quiz, or like these guys see John Edwards in a lot of freaking airports. I just
after they scan you, Keiko's waking up for a dream, and she sees like something in front of her vision. Is like, would you like to friend request so and so for Farmville?
I see a D and a member of your family's name. Oh, that's so impressive. Wait, are you a telepath? No, I'm not a telepath. Oh, that's so impressive. Like, and Data and Geordi talk about memory, and like the ephemeralness of human memory.
Yeah, and Data is gonna give us like this weird. I don't know how much we know about how memories are precisely encoded. I don't know if we know how the process works well enough for us to be able to read write memories into like human biology. But there's probably something here to it.
I'm the research guy for this show, and honestly, I Googled it and got really freaking put off. So it's complicated, and I think it's expected that Star Trek is going to be like, nah, it's the future. We know what it is. Let's just pick a theory and go with it. And
that's fair.
Yeah. Like, in the future, that's what it is. They know it in the future. I'm like, well, they have to have some credibility here. So, I'll take a wrong answer in the thing of looking future-ish.
Yeah. And I like this kind of too, where he's talking about like, oh, well, I remember my cat, and I don't remember my birthday, and it would just be kind of funny if Data's like, oh, I can ask the logs. No, that's fine, Data. You don't have to know where my birthday was. I definitely wasn't spending it alone with a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah. Which is totally in character for Data. This is an interesting little dinner because a lot of stuff is happening here.
Right. I mean, these Ullians are barely dressed. They got holes everywhere.
Yeah. But we're still trying to sell the audience on this stupid memory probing power.
Yeah, like it's more important. It's more than just a parlor trick. This is some legit order science that has some grand notion of like some memory library. Do we know? I know that the father and the son are related, but do we know about how this old lady fits in the picture? Is she just here along for the ride, or is that like grandma?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she's just like hanging out back in the alleyway at their book signings or whatever, and she's like, oh, do not go in there. Those guys are so much family drama, just smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, if you have any shred of decency, I wouldn't open that door.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of sooties in there. And then Crusher's trying to push Picard into it. It's like, what is happening here?
Yeah, when I first saw this, I was thinking like, oh, maybe there's some sort of nefarious kind of like the eye game where once they probe you, then maybe they have some measure of control over you. Maybe they want to take over Starfleet or something. But this really is something more benign.
Yeah, and the lady's like, oh, don't influence people. It's like, well, he's a telepath. Like, is he influencing or just regular influencing? And like, it's a bad choice of words is what it is. Like when Troy says she feels something. It's like, well, does she feel something or does she feel something?
Right. So, that he's trying to, poke Worf to get his memory probed. And he's like, nah, man, you don't want to get in there. Trust me.
Yeah. And, Worf is our flagship masculine character. Is like, I don't get probed. Right. And I think we're establishing, to this episode's credit, we are establishing the sexual metaphor for what they're doing pretty early on in terms of it goes inside of your body space. And men
now that you mention it, all of the men have refused. We've only ever seen Kiko, Crusher got probed off screen, and then now And just then, I think Troy showed somewhat interest until he started punking his son in the middle of dinner.
Yeah, which is, he just totally belittles his son in front of all these other people. And then his son's like, excuse me, I'm having a pretty obvious emotional reaction to this. And Troy's like, well, is anyone else going to go?
And it seems genuine.
Yeah, it does.
And this is Counselor Troy's, counselor instinct kind of kicking in. And, she knows one or two things about having an overbearing parent, right?
That she does. And,
right. This isn't just an empty, I know how you feel. There's no, seriously, if you met my Betazoid mother, you'd know that we have a lot in common.
And it's a good moment of emotional connection where she's trying to connect with Lev. And I know we try not to get into it, but Lev is the rapist in this episode.
Yeah.
So she's trying to connect with him as a person and on equal grounds. And all he can think is, wow, she's so emotionally vulnerable. Let's brain our way into that.
So it's hard to know if this was calculated or not, because you could totally, we don't know the depth of his memory probe. We know that he can do it without anyone's permission if he wanted to. Maybe he saw all of these things with Deanna while they were drinking. He was like, oh, if I just waited for my father to do a dumb thing, I can totally use that to bring her out of this scenario. Or was it a genuine thing, that the way it looks? And since we don't know, we have to kind of take the writers at their intent, which is this was a genuine thing that he later realized could be used as some sort of gross opportunity.
Yeah, and that's my impression, is that Jev is a person who has a father figure who treats him like garbage and makes him feel like nothing simply because his father has more talent than him.
Oh, the one characterization Troy has, hot chocolate. Anyway, continue.
I mean, it's something, but yeah. So, and then, Troy shows empathy for him, trying to connect with him to ameliorate his emotional distress. And he doesn't know how to respond to that except through predation.
Right.
And a better episode could have given us insight into him and understanding of that and saying, hey, I understand without condoning, what you're doing is wrong, but it is a result of something that was done to you. It's not even proportional, but
right. Yeah. And you could have kind of talked a little bit how they get their powers or whatever, and talk about how it's being able to control yourself or whatever, and talking about how vulnerable and precious memories are. And you can use that as a bit of an allegory for people's right to choose, and how because this dude's broken, he took that power as a way to fill the void that his father should have been kind of not making actively. And that's how he became this sexual memory predator. And that would have been a more interesting story. But no, this is just writers wanted to do a rape story. And because...
It feels that way, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just... Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But this is pretty wild.
Yeah, okay, so what he does is he takes a memory of Riker and Troy having a moment where their hands touch after a poker game, and then he inserts himself into the memory and makes it a memory about sexual assault. Right. And one, kind of unnecessary. Two, rest in peace, hot chocolate. You will be missed. And three, I have long said that I believe Riker and Troy were banging it out on the side because that's a thing you can do in the future without all the emotional suities, although obviously Riker doesn't seem perfectly capable of that. But apparently that was wrong. And that comes from me only watching this episode one time where Troy's like, we can't do this. We're serving on the same ship now.
Yeah, which is just kind of your 1990s is showing. It's hard to buy considering, how we are in the future. It seems like we'd be a lot more aware of kind of, sex is not that big of a thing. It's not something we should all be worried about. But because this was written in the 90s, we are.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate. But anyway, so now Troy's in a coma and we're trying to figure it out. And we're like, gosh.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any sort of connection. If there's just something Troy might have happened. It's oh, well, I saw her with the Ullians last night. He's like, oh, I'll go take a look.
let's assume the Ullians aren't from around here, so we're going to assume that their intent is benign and just check them for hostile organisms.
Yeah.
Dr. Crusher, you're going to check them for being dicks too, right? You're checking for being dicks, Dr. Crusher, are you? Just give me a wink if you're going to check them for being dicks. Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
we know you have. We know that scanner has some kind of setting on it.
Yeah. So then Riker pops in here, and he goes ahead and tickles the seat back of this chair because apparently he's chief of security now to investigate this.
Yeah, I mean, I can see him, walking up to Worf and saying, "Hey, man, you got to talk to these Ullians. Something's up."
Worf is like, all guilty is what it is.
All right, apparently you're too close to this. I got this one.
Yeah. And like the thing is that Riker's going to fill out in his little log, okay, Troy fell into coma, talked with Jev, then I talked with Troy for the rest of the afternoon, and then the next morning, Riker's going to go into a coma, someone's going to pick that up, and they're going to be like, damn, what could have happened? What could have happened?
Right. And, he doesn't even have to write it in his journal, right? The logs have this. It's like, oh, man, the Riker's in a coma. We don't have Riker to tell us what happened. What could we do? What do we do in this situation? And then Data's like, we could check the logs. The logs. Yeah, we could check the logs and see what happened. Also, too, like, when Troy was getting violated, like, what was this dude doing in his room? Like, I'm sure he was all sweaty and dumb about it. Like, that's got to be somewhat implicating, right?
It'd be great if there was a range on it. Like, he's in the turbo lift, and then he's like, oh, I'm getting too far away. Turbo lift, go up again. All right, go down. Go down. Can you get closer? Right. There was like an instant in there, and she's like, what is going on?
This turbo lift is just being really weird. Just leave it alone. It's working things out. Them and the doors are having trouble.
Look, whenever you're done with this telepathy thing, can I just get to 10 forward? Like,
right.
Just like pop out, back in.
Yeah, it's just like, or it's like a little child, like, I just want to go back to mommy.
So this is a nice call out for, in season 2, Riker was in a coma for away team related missions, and Troy helped sit by his bedside and do emotional things to help him.
Yeah, so this is kind of the tried and true, like, best friends in a coma, so I'm going to talk to you so you can find your way out of it. And, we don't really know. We have stories about this working. We don't really know what happens to people in comas, how they're able to process things, or, maybe it's just different for each person. But this is kind of the shorthand, right, of what happens when your friend is in some sort of coma.
Yeah, it's a way to demonstrate your affection for them. And it's the thing that it is very symbolic of a thing a character does, not knowing if they're going to be rewarded for it.
Right.
It's a very pure kind of thing. And it's good. It's good to have Riker do this, because Riker's character is sometimes crappy. So
yeah, I mean, we don't always get... He doesn't always get the best characterization. But here he is, like, hey, listen, I miss my friend. And... he's got to go do stuff, but he's going to come back and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, and Frakes is always killing it. I mean, there's no doubt that Frakes, he does a great journey here. Because he's just really good at this stuff.
Yeah.
He's too good for this series sometimes. But anyway, it's a good bit. It's a good human bit that establishes life on the Enterprise.
Yeah, and... this is pretty good. She's kind of being concerned for him, and also is like, hey, also I outrank you, get out of here.
Yeah, I don't know if she does or not, but I mean,
I thought she did. I thought the medicine, like the chief of medicine, we established that with McCoy. The medical doctor has to be able to tell the captain what to do, right? So that's how they outrank or something. That's
a fair point. I mean, they're both commanders, but she does have her position as CMO that puts her slightly outside the chain of command.
Yeah.
So here we get another flashback, and these flashbacks I think are shot fairly dreamlike.
I mean, and that shows some willingness to kind of tackle these sort of ethereal narratives, like narratives that don't happen in space and time, but happened inside, the mindscape or just some other kind of aspect that isn't, the world of table and chairs. I thought this was a call out to like an earlier episode, where like they draw that door down. But I don't remember Ted Cruz.
Like Ted friggin' Cruz. Yeah, look at that face.
That's just
the junior senator from Texas. But yeah, in best of both worlds. They had to bring the door down, but Riker was on the bridge at the time. This is some other random deadly emergency that happened on the flagship of the futuristic starship Enterprise.
Where we learn Riker killed the dude.
I mean,
poor Ensign Keller.
Yeah, and what's up with... All right, so Ted Cruz is like, Keller was right behind me. And it's like, well, what happened between here and there, Senator?
Yeah.
Like, did you just book it and leave Keller to die?
Did you go all Zodiac Killer on her so you could get through the door?
How is this my fault? It's been like 15 seconds. She was right behind you. And some time elapsed, and now she's 15 seconds behind you. This isn't Riker's fault. Willy Boy is completely innocent here. Like,
right.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
We established like a little bit more about this technique, which is essentially take a memory, put yourself in it, yell a lot, and then bam, coma.
Yeah, and Picard's like, Riker, I was just singing a little Picard song. Please harmonize. Riker, harmonize.
Riker, harmonize. Yeah.
Wolf, I have no bass line. Please get commit a Riker from his quarters.
You know we can't have an a cappella group without at least 3 people. Yes, sir. I'll go get him.
Yeah. And so,
it's like, oh wow, he takes out his little notes and it just says like a second person to be victimized by the Ullians, and just makes a little check mark like, yep, I'm just gonna keep waiting until they eliminate the chain of command. I'm the only one left.
I mean, that's basically Worf's best plan at this point, where he's just like, it's the Ullians. It's the Ullians. This is the only contribution.
I mean, this is the he's right here, and then Beverly's like, hey, look, I did all my medical mumbo jumbo. It could be Irisine syndrome, but histamine counts don't match, so I don't know. And he's like, well, the other thing about these guys is that they invade people's memories at will. It's like, Worf, oh, you're silly. We need to absolutely rule out all biological elements. He's like, yeah, or it could be Jeb.
Yeah, could be one of these Ullians. And, we're setting up our mystery, and for once, the crew is pursuing a mystery off script. Like, they don't have the script. They're just, like, going down a bunch of dead ends, and I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I think it is important, even though Worf is keyed in on, like, who the real dude is, it is important for us to see kind of them try and fail at a thing, because it shows that getting anything of value means that you have to work at it, and that doesn't mean you always succeed on the first try.
I think it's important that the process is seen, even if it's easier to jump to a conclusion that might be right. Like, that is kind of the paradigm where it's easy to go, look, we're going to proceed according to the rules, we're going to do the principle, and then sometimes you can just make a snap judgment, and sometimes that snap judgment is right. Which I would say is probably a strike against this this episode, in that it's less than seems to be. It's the foreigners. And
well, and he's like, oh well, but you already scanned us, so it's not us, right? And then Worf is like, I think it's them, sir. And I don't know what this old lady is doing. Like, is she just kind of like there to cover for them? I mean, I feel like good.
I think she's basically there to go, this is your future, the Olsen twins. This is your future.
Bubble, when she's not saying bubble, bubble, toil and trouble.
And Picard and Crusher are like, look, we came here right from the conference room. Worf is outside because he wouldn't stop it, man. It's the Ullians.
Yeah. Crusher's like, all right, I'm going to get down to this mystery. Kiku, what we're going to do is we need to see if there's any residual effect, just in case it's the Ullians. Oh, yes, what's that? Oh, hello, Lieutenant Worf. Oh, you say it's the Ullians, do you? Well, we just need to okay, yeah, uh-huh. All right, yeah, I'm going to get back to this. All right, bye.
Yeah, and I like it. I like it that it's not just like, oh, we do a scan and it shows up and it's bad. But no, it's like we just can't get the evidence together. And it gives us like a real conflict. And it,
And we see this like medical intern guy more than once, which is kind of cool. Like, we don't often see, or I guess we don't often have a medical narrative in which we see the folks that she works with more than once.
Yeah, I've made a lot of jokes about how Dr. Crush is just making like contractual appearances in this season, but I think whenever we do get into a medical mystery, it's good to have a medical person to kind of have her bounce things off of.
Yeah, so she's not the only person doing medicine on the whole ship of over 1,000 people.
Yeah. And I don't know why it's... Yeah.
Good.
It's so much more natural for Dr. Crusher to have staff than some of these, like Data or Worf, and I don't really know why. But
right. Yeah, this is so funny here. So Geordi is doing his own bit to see what he can kind of find out about the reasons for these comas. And the scene is supposed to be like him, like being a dog with a bone. He's getting down to the bottom of this mystery, doing all this hard work. But he's sitting in a chair asking the computer the hard question. The computer's like, bam, 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 here's your data. And it's like, oh, man, this is just so rough asking these questions and getting immediate answers.
I don't know. You sound like those guys who are like, oh, your job is working 60 hours a week writing code on a computer in a computer chair. Oh, that's so hard.
I mean, yeah, there is a certain amount of intellectual effort. But I mean, he's not even, taking notes. Maybe he needs one of those memory guys.
I mean, yeah, he'll just remember it. And then if he doesn't, he'll just get the Ullians. Damn.
They've already become central to our day-to-day way of life.
I appreciate him, like, looking for precursors and decay products.
Right.
Do the whole, like, melting ice pick murder mystery thing, basically. Right.
Yeah, I thought it was a good touch that he didn't not only look for the direct thing, but also things that are tangentially related to the direct thing.
Yeah, and like in these mystery stories, you rarely ever see the dead ends. And I appreciate that all of these characters are pursuing dead ends. She's looking for mutations of Iracine syndrome that don't produce the histamine response.
Right.
Just corner cases.
Yeah, just compare like any crime procedural and they almost always like have their failures off screen and then they're just like, okay, cool. We got the information we need and we win.
Yeah, I like the reality and texture of the investigative process not working. What I don't like is that Worf being kind of a bigot about the Ullians is the correct answer. It's like this, not really what this show is about.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're right, you're right.
Yeah, this is my favorite of the invasive mental assault flashbacks.
Yeah, so I remember someone there was some news about the Picard series or whatever, and I thought someone had mentioned something about they originally wanted him to have hair. Is that his hair? Is that like what he was supposed to look like or something?
I don't know. I don't know anything about this hairpiece except that it's here from this episode. And it serves to visual. They also have the first season uniforms, which I love. First and second season.
Okay.
They broke out the old uniforms, and to get kind of put us in that era. I love Crusher's period civilian clothing. I love they made a whole room for this scene. Hired Jack Crusher because I think it's the Jack Crusher that we've seen before, right?
I'm not sure. I would believe that to be true. I feel like as a person who has been in an alternate reality and rejected it to make her way back home, she wouldn't have gotten that freaked out. But, maybe I'm wrong.
She has a pretty high will score, and it's disappointing that she doesn't save on this occasion. Data and Geordi are discussing the case. Data even interprets things from Geordi's tone, and Data's like, sick beta, wait, you guys, get in here.
Hey, what are you doing? Are you waiting for me to just call you? It's happening right now, guys.
Sick beta, where the fuck am I? I'm in sick bay.
Sick bay 2, wait a minute.
What the heck are you people doing?
Right, exactly.
Geordi and Data are like, we don't know anything, sir, except that everyone involved in the investigation of this case has gone into a coma.
Right. I expect at some point in time, even Data will go into a coma. Even you.
Yeah. What's the pattern here? And it's a line directly connecting every Ullian to every person in a coma.
Yeah. It's like, Worf is like, step into my office. It's like, you see here, we have a timeline. Fine. Pick up the Ullians. 2 days. Coma. I don't know.
Mr. LaForge, I didn't have Mr. Worf in this meeting because he keeps saying the same thing. It's the Ullians.
Do you hear that? This is what I'm dealing with. This is almost a mutiny.
And Troy's I'm out of the coma, but I remember nothing. For some reason, the coma that I was mysteriously placed in has erased my memories. Memories. Oh, what's that knocking? Oh, that's Worf. He's resorted to Morse code to tell us it's the Ullians. He's not allowed in the room, though.
Why would it be the... Oh, it's like, the Ullians would make sense. Now, come now, Deanna Troi. It can't be the Ullians. Yeah, you're probably right. We should let the Ullians probe you, however.
We haven't even gotten to that bad decision yet.
Yeah, I know, right?
So...
But now we kind of have like a switch, Riker was worried about Troi, and now Troy's kind of worried about Riker.
And we have a whole scene where Picard tells us everything we've already known because we have been watching the episode. The audience isn't being affected by the Ullians. We remember the things that have happened, buddy. Yeah. You don't need to freaking tell us.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of gave up the ghost with the whole, at the very beginning when they focused that sinister focusing on Jev.
I know.
So it's and this guy's just like, blah, 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 I can be here implicating me.
I'm very sorry, but we've had to resort to our final resort. And Worf was throwing them out of the airlock. Oh, no. Security theater. Even though these bulkheads won't stop your telepathic abilities at all, we'd like you to stay in this room. For show. Like the TSA. Oh, yes, the TSA.
Yes. That ancient Earth organization. What's funny to me about this is that we don't even know... we know from the logs that he wasn't in the room with Deanna when she went into a coma. So we know there's a range to this. And, we still, I don't know... Picard doesn't look like he's suspected these guys at all. But... even if he does, we know that there's a range. Confining the cord is going to do jack all. We've basically stumbled on the Achilles heel of all of Starfleet. There's no one protecting Starfleet from telepaths of any kind.
Yeah. And it's they have nothing against it. I think they mentioned once in the episode where Troi was having the nightmares that, there is, a certain type of wave that can be, blocked out or whatever. But it's whatever. They're useless against this.
Right. He's all right, listen. So Troy's back up, so that's good. Not something that I've planned or anything. But here's what we could do. I, the youngest and most probable person to do any sort of bad thing to Troi, should go into her memory.
It's
to prove our innocence.
Why not have the old women? Old women are pretty trustworthy, guys. Seriously.
She's got no motive unless she's into a whole bunch of kinky stuff that we don't know about.
Right. And it's the last guy who was seen with the first victim and the dude who considers consent more of a suggestion than a hard rule.
Right.
You can just rule them out. You can go with the lady who has no connection to any of this and you can just let her do it. Just let her do it.
Yeah.
Let Mary Kate do it, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but all we get from the old lady is just yes, you should let the youngest among us probe the lady's memories again.
And you can all stand around us being as useful as friggin' bulkheads whenever this happens.
Right.
To provide additional security.
I guess to Picard's credit, he doesn't just say yes for Troi. He does say, I'm going to go talk to Counselor Troi about it. Even though we know that we're Troi, this is the only way we can do things.
So here's our real progress center, which is, these two guys kind of doing what we always like seeing these two guys together.
Right.
They're a great duo. We have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, and they're running down leads, and that's good because at this point in time, we don't know for certain. Everyone suspects that it's the Ullians, and if you're gonna have to pick a person, then maybe it's probably the Sun. But we're about to get some conflicting information that's going to throw all that up in the air, and we're really not going to know who to trust. And so having some good old-fashioned clues might help us.
Yeah, and Geordi says, hey, Dr. Crusher said it looks like Eocene syndrome. What if a lazy or overworked doctor just diagnosed it as Eocene syndrome and went on with their way? What if we search for that instead of unexplained comas? And what if the real enemy was capitalism?
Yeah, which is so weird because, I mean, you would expect a post-scarcity society that you're only a doctor because you want to be. And so you wouldn't just be lazy about it all. But I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe they're on some weird colonialism that has like no replicators, so they use some kind of gold thing. But here we go. It's like, oh no, the only way we can do things is let Jeb invade her memories again.
Yeah, and we just we've made a lot of fun of Worf being like hyper vigilant about the Ullians, but Worf completely drops the ball here.
Yeah, I mean, like even the old lady, I don't know what she's here for, but you would expect that she's here to like officiate in some way because she has a skill that we don't have, and you would also expect that if she was somehow monitoring the process with her memory powers, that she would notice some kind of fishy things going on when we kind of get this reveal that it's the dad, not Jeb.
Sorry, does Marina Sirtis have a sweat stain on her stomach?
I don't know.
Darn, they just went in for the close-up. Anyway, so yeah, and so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of replay a lot of the clips from the original sexual assault scene with Troy, except now it's going to have Tarman there instead of Jev.
Right.
And that's going to make us think, oh...
Yeah, who could it be?
Did Tarman give her a fake memory of Jev that she still can't remember? Or is Jev modifying her memory so it looks like Tarman?
Right.
And again, for a mystery episode with no mystery, like it I don't know. Like, did this convince you? Like,
I mean, at this point in time, I'm thinking that maybe it is the dad. Like, I didn't know who it could have been because the earlier assault could have been the old man putting on his son's face to like provide cover, or it could be what this is, the young man, implicating his father because he, as you say, and as you're quite accurate, that he views consent more as a suggestion.
Yeah. And we get like 2 scenes of honest confusion, and I just don't know what this episode's going for.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this episode, if it really wanted to get confusion, it should have given us this kind of red herring a lot sooner. Yeah,
and the thing is that Troy's sitting there going, "No, stop!" And Worf is like,
"Yep."
Is that the safe word? Klingons don't have safe words. Is that the one?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, humans are generally more frail than me. She is crying, and should we stop this?
No, and stop him, and he's hurting me. Is that is that bad? I'm a Klingon. Our sex is different.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing too, is that they didn't do anything, and there was no sort of like. All right, we're going to put some extra safety precautions in place. She got out of a traumatic coma, blah, blah, blah. None of that. It's just, let's just do it again. Let's just do it again. and just, well, no, we need to let the process happen, Mr. Worf. Don't stop it, even though she says, please stop.
Yeah, I feel like Worf should have walked up and just been like, raised a hand, like, do I push him over? He just takes his hand off of his forehead and is like, there we go, that stopped it. Because like, yes, that usually stops it. You got to put your fingers on your temple, man. Trust me, I'm an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
So at this point, like, we're trying to wind down our story, and I guess if you're a dick and you're looking at the timer on your VCR or whatever, you're like, this isn't over yet. Yeah, but
right. So you're wondering kind of when the other shoe's gonna drop. This is kind of just like, okay, yeah, he's gonna the father. It's really sad that my father is like a sex pest. We're gonna just do what we can. We have all of these rules and things, and I'm going to be super sad, and we're going to walk out of this door, and nobody in Starfleet's going to prosecute us.
I don't know, Jev. Your father, the old white man, says he's pretty sure he didn't rape all those people. I'm inclined to believe him. It's a good thing this story won't bear that out. All right, bye.
Yeah. Apparently the United Federation of Planets takes the age-old tradition of America of believing old white men.
And they just, they're like, yeah, we're going to watch him now. It's like, wait, you could have watched each other this whole time?
Yeah, like he's walking out and Picard's like, whoa, hold up. You can watch each other? I didn't know that was a thing. Okay,
that should have been an option 6 minutes in.
Yeah, bring everybody back in here. I have more questions.
And then we cut to Data and Geordi sifting through the data. Data and Geordi finding rapists.
Yeah.
And, they're actually going to get the real thing by eliminating, like, other incidents of people going into comas after meeting the Ullians.
Yeah.
And
they're
like, oh, hey, wait a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only common denominator is Jeff. Oh, the quiet one? The reserved one? With the mental issues and the daddy issues? With the close-up in the camera from the turbo lift from earlier? Huh.
Dana's like, that's why the laws kept telling me that I should look into them.
And Geordi's like, that figures out the woman's testimony was really biased, but we, the men, have gotten some facts. Thank goodness for that.
I'm glad that we had men in this scenario so we could get down to the truth.
What is this episode doing? And Troy's an empath.
Right.
And she's alone with the rapist. Like, it's at the forefront of his mind.
Like, no security protocol. Like, I figured there's some sort of, like, virtual restraining order, right? Like, Worf could have been like, okay, if this creepy dude gets close to Troy again, I want the computer to notify me. Just a little beep.
He touches Troy's face, and Troy's face is like, hey, wait, you're a really nice guy. That's what it is. I figured it out.
She was so close. Just an extra different syllable, and we would have gotten it. But yeah.
I know he's a Ullian, and there's one line about how she can't read Ullians. On the other hand, she isn't literally blind.
Right. Like, when's the last time some person you've known for less than a week tried to touch your face and then turned away in distress because of a reason?
And then does the brain thing, and it takes you 5 hours.
Yes.
5 hours of him doing brain things to you while you have flashbacks like the last time to be
Do
like,
you know how many dick punches you could get in right now? There's going to be 5 dick punches, 6 dick punches.
Hey, wait a second. It's the traumatic thing that's happening from the telepath. And you're a telepath. And you're in front of me using your telepath powers.
Please dick punch him, Troy. Please dick punch him. But no, we're still talking about it. Like we said, we could have gotten 20 dick punches in, but no, we still have to. We have got to do this again.
It's like, why?
And so now she's somewhat incapacitated. She tried to use her counselor or whatever that is, the comm badge. That's it.
Comm badge, yeah.
Couldn't do it. But at the very least here, now the training kicks in. She clubs him in the ear. We get a few dick punches in, which is great. Worf,
boxing, she boxes his ears, gets an improvised weapon. She gets some good hits in.
Boom!
Then,
oh man, he just and like he knew this was going to be. He's like, hey, listen, I need you guys to come with me. Why? You can handle this guy on your own. No, it's going to be cool. Trust me. And
you guys are going to go into the tin fort and tell everyone the story about this. Bam! One shot the rapist nerd.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't even a real punch. Like he literally, like if you freeze the frame, he has his hand open. And just slaps the crap out of that kid.
This might be the beginning of the open palm strike era. Like we may have had a few others, but that's how Star Trek combat goes. Open palm strikes, man.
Okay, interesting.
It's incredibly satisfying. You kind of wanted to see Worf like punch the guy, catch the guy, rip the guy in half like a phone book.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's a family show though, so whatever.
Yeah.
And that is our Riker scene, by the way. That's the scene that's like, we're going to fulfill the action quotient for this show that people want to see. Is that an attempted rape scene? Yes, it is. Okay. And for Worf getting bitch slapped constantly in this show, it's good to see him just fucking ice someone.
Right.
It's real satisfying.
And this dude, kind of brings out, like he says the R word, which is good. Yeah. I mean, we know what this is about. This is the first time we kind of mentioned it in the episode, and we have kind of the real Dumas kind of mimicking the fake Dumas, just with different characters.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, look, we'll get you people counseling." And Picard's like, "Yes, the most important Picard speech ever delivered. People are sometimes just rapists, and we have to fight our rapist tendencies." And everyone's like, "The fuck are you talking about? Is that the lesson you're getting out of this?"
Everyone has the seed of rape inside of them. Like, come on, Picard, get over. Like, what are you even saying? Like, I don't.
Like, maybe don't belittle your children so that their only source of efficacy is to hurt other people. Like, maybe that's a lesson here.
Or maybe have, like, some social programs that can identify kids with problematic childhoods and give them the extra support that they need so that they don't grow up to be rapists.
I don't know. Maybe accurately diagnose Iracine syndrome. It doesn't even exist, but that's a better lesson.
Yeah.
Worf pops in, throws Picard out of his chair, sits down. Perhaps the real lesson here is to listen to Worf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the one travesty of this episode is that Worf would have had this like on lock in, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. And like, scene 6, Worf picks up Ullians, puts them into the cargo bay, opens the cargo bay door. Roll credits. Dun, 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 dun.
All right, what do you guys want to do? You want to play poker? We can't play poker. It's orgy night. Damn.
So, shock us, Derek. Final thoughts, violations.
It's bad, y'all. It's bad. The one thing that I was interested in about this episode was that they seem to before now have this unwillingness to do anything with the mind or anything like that. It was all very hand wavy, and we didn't devote any sort of screen time to like the fisheye lens or the soft focus or anything like that. And so them willing to kind of do this is somewhat good, but in a rape narrative, like, you guys didn't do it right. Like, if you're gonna, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have narratives where rape is involved. I'm saying that if you're going to
talk about it.
Yeah, there's definitely something that, you know, we use stories. Stories are kind of the way that humans first kind of taught kids how to kind of interact with the world. And I'm not saying that capitalist TV shows in the 90s should take up that mantle. But what I am saying is that if you're going to do something as heavy as, you know, a rape narrative, you need to do it right. If you can't find like women writers that can write from a woman's perspective on all these sorts of issues, don't just assume you know what you're talking about. Like, just try to. There's a way to do this right, and they just don't. And that's the more disheartening scene, is that you know this could have been a better episode than it is, but because you wrote it from like the male perspective, it just becomes more gross, not less gross.
It just feels really lazy.
Yeah.
That's my analysis. Next week, we are going to be watching The Masterpiece Society.
And so the card that we get from Netflix is kind of like a white dude in like a different area. I guess he's kind of outside with, you know, kind of an elderly, you know, black man like looking at something maybe. They look like they're in some kind of like futuristic room. And then you have Riker, Picard, and Data, and they're at like a comm center, but this doesn't look like the bridge. It looks like some other place. And they're, you know, having a conversation. And this is the summary we get from Netflix. The Enterprise is on a mission to warn the human colony on planet Moab 4 about a massive stellar fragment that's approaching. I don't know. Is a fragment sentient? It's hard to tell with these things.
Yep. Well, we'll see you next week. And until then, remember
Rand.
I'll make this short because no one likes credits. Star Trek is property of CBS Television Studios and Paramount Pictures. We are watching Star Trek on Netflix. We are talking over Discord. And we are recording and editing on Audacity. The Beige and The Bold is hosted on Anchor and can be found on most podcasting platforms. I would also like to thank our senior officer Patreons for supporting The Beige and The Bold. They also make video editions of this podcast and remasters of old episodes possible. So thank you to Tracker by Moonlight and Miss Jess. If you have any questions or concerns about the show, please contact me at vanvelding@gmail.com or on Twitter @vanvelding. Thank you, and remember Rand.